Welcome to Taylor by Nature. Please subscribe and share if you find value in this information. Um, Before I get started, I would like to start with a Bible verse which deals with the past, because by looking and seeing what's happened in the past, we could make better decision to better our future. And this verse is Hosea 9, verse 10. I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your forefathers as the first fruit on the fig tree in its first season, but they went to Baal of Peor and consecrated themselves to shame. When we look at that situation as far as what was and our action, the action that we take to pretty much put us in a more poverty state versus a rich state that we were, children of Israel were in, and which brought them shame. So whenever you have a culture of decency and then you move to a subculture which degrades you, your environment, the way you do things, your action, everything that get degraded. Because once your culture change, your action change as well. And so let's move on to what I was asked. Someone asked me to take a look into the California fires, and which, by all accounts, is a very unfortunate situation to the residents due to the cleansing nature of fire. Fire is one of those things that we try to do whatever we can to mitigate its effect on our environment, because in many cases, like right now in California, they didn't have any water to prepare to actually take out the fire. So, like I said, our actions are tied to consequences, and if the elected officials or the people that's in charge doesn't have our best interest in mind, the outcome of situation like fire, the consequence is going to be negative. Regardless of what's taking place, the ground zero is our action. Even though the officials in charge, we still have to look at the actions as individuals that we take to how to mitigate things in our life, because we all are responsible for our own action, and our action, this is by which we are judged, and we are judged individually by our actions. And based on that, like I said, we have to take responsibility for the things that we do. One of the things I discovered doing my research on this is that the residents and I guess the builders in California, they prefer to use wood due to its availability and inexpensiveness, and which comes at a cost, because even though it may be cheaper and is more available, you have to think that the area that you live in, and if the area is subjectable to fires and storms and stuff like that, you have to build accordingly. And if you don't build accordingly, you would be subjected accordingly to whatever outcome is going to be, positive or negative. So action does make a difference in the outcome of all situations that we encounter in our life, and that need to be taken into consideration. I know it may be costly, but at the same time, if your house get burnt down once or twice, that is more costly than to actually invest and maybe use other materials that are more durable, like blocks, that have a higher burn rate or low burn rate, where If you have a concrete building, it will take about 4 hours of burning for that building to be subjected to the heat, succumb to the heat of the fire, versus wood is only an hour of burning where the house will be succumb to being caught on fire. So you have to look at the pros and cons, and based on the area that we live in, we actually look at those and apply those accordingly to mitigate risks to our finance or family or health or wealth. All these things come into play. You have to consider everything on earth is all connected. The way we do one thing should be the way we do other things, which is looking for a positive outcome in the things that we do. Personal, professional, whatever it is, look for the positive outcome of it. Even though something may be cheaper, in the long run, it's going to cost you more if you actually do the things that's not going to be beneficial long term. In stating that, um, we have to look at the past so we could see how they did things in the past that have proven to be effective. And one of the things that I've researched um, is how the people live in the past in respect to nature, which provide a nurturing environment. And that nurturing environment is our ancestors, the people that lived here um, before Columbus arrived, before the Alta people arrived, Mongolian people arrived. There were people here known as mound builders. Mound builders, Chief Warhorse, she spoke of that. She said her ancestors, they actually they built bricks. I mean, they used nature to build buildings from natural material. Natural material, which is more resistant to natural destruction, such as storms, I guess earthquakes, and fire. So when you think of nature, you have to think of ergonomics, and that's the way nature function. So the way is nature is the most adaptive, or if you follow nature, you'll become the most effective and most adaptive to the environment that you're in. And one of the things that they use as far as mound building is that they build structures that was actually in tune with nature, which means it follows the contour of a mountain or a mound. And by following those examples, they become less subjective to natural destruction. And for as the mound builders, places like Monk Mound, Moundville, Alabama, and Poverty Point, Mississippi, are some of the oldest structures that we see. Graham Hancock, who wrote a book called America Before, kind of give us an insight in addition to our ancestors and the language that we spoke before, which tell us a lot more detail about how our ancestors lived and how they were in tune with nature. And because they spoke the language of nature, they were able to live successfully with nature and not be subjected to, I guess, environmental factors that we are subjected to today. Believe it or not, a lot of us think that we are advanced in technology, but when you really look at it, we actually are not advanced at all. We actually have went backwards based on the things that we actually build, because the things we build with sharp edges, the houses we build that sticks out like a sore thumb, pretty much, those are not in tune with nature. If, like I said, the people before who actually that were here. I mean, some people, based on the language that you use. I know when Christopher Columbus came here, he referred to them as Negro phenotypes that were here before the so-called Alta people, who were Mongolians before they came here. And he even mentioned that the people here, sickness wasn't a part of their vocabulary because they were in tune with nature. They eat from nature because nature were their nurturer. So that's one aspect of it, how to look at how things had changed in regards to California and how the building codes have changed in respect to profit. Where in the past, houses were built to sustain long term, not something that was fabricated, that was put up, and within 10, 15 years is subjected to natural destruction. So it was a different mindset that we have, a nurturing long term mindset versus today where everything is more financial. I even saw a news show that said the California water are actually owned by private citizens, some billionaire that owns the water rights. So it kind of makes you think of where the policies are and who is it really benefiting? Is it benefiting the citizens or is it benefiting some corporation or something? So you really have to think about those things because California, based on its location, shouldn't be lacking any water at all. It's not like it's in the middle of the desert somewhere. It's not. And there's many ways of getting water. So the fact that they don't have water kind of points to what's really going on. Is it a financial? Are they choosing to benefit themselves, or are they choosing to take care of the residents or the citizens of that particular state? So those are some of the things we have to think about. But like I said, our actions have changed because our language have changed. And because of language have changed, we have moved away from, I guess, nature. And because we moved away from nature, we're seeing the effects of not being compliance with nature, as far as where we build things, and as far as the way we take care of things. So those are factors we have to consider as far as the future. I mean, this has happened, and how could we go about in the future to make it better and more sustainable? I know some of the things other states do. They do control burn, which burns up the fuel, which are the dead leaves on the ground, which mean if some unfortunate situation where a lightning strike happened or something happened, that the burn is not so massive and destructive because the fuel is not there for the fire to actually burn as hot and as intense as we have seen. So that's one of the things we have to consider as well. So there are mitigating things, actions that we could take, and those actions are effective if we apply them accordingly. As far as the overall impact, I know some people have died, and like I said, to mitigate the action from happening is probably one of the best recourses we could apply in any situation, because people cannot come back, but buildings, structures can come back. And as far as, I guess, the way I look at it, is that we should think about the future and how to build more robust, more ergonomic structures that actually could protect and mitigate future losses, and possibly change the building code within California due to the frequent occurrence of as for fires is concerned. So, like I said, I'm just kind of dove into it and kind of look at the past and see what what are the inhabitants of the area in the Americas have done in the past, and how their alignment with nature makes a big difference in their lifestyle and the mitigation of risk as far as life and their communities is concerned. I hope you guys enjoy my little talk, and I will talk to you guys soon.